If things are going well, why does the stock continue to drop? Why do we press forward when we can have a safe retreat? What's the plan? Everybody, I'm Steve Reinharz, CEO, CTO, and founder of Artificial Intelligence Technology Solution. And I find that these three questions come up over and over again. And although I talk about it all the time, we're going to get right to it again and go through it and make sure that our investors, fans, and followers know the answers to those questions, know the real answers from me to those questions. And it's been a while since I've done a direct weekly video with you. So it shouldn't be much of a surprise that we haven't been doing these videos as much. A couple of months ago, I suggested that we would reduce the frequency of these videos. And it was because I've got a lot going on. And doing these videos are great. I love sharing and communicating. But as we've grown, yet tried to remain a small team, it's meant even more work for me. And these videos require preparation of the talking points, the script. I have to set up my office every time with the green screen, with lights, with the camera, and so forth. Then I've got to actually kind of get dressed a little bit because I don't always dress like this when I'm working. Then we've got legal work. It takes time. And time is in short supply right now. You'll have a better understanding why as you watch this video. So let's get to those three questions. Question one, if things are going so well, why does the stock continue to drop? Now, the ultimate reason is simple. There's more people trying to sell than trying to buy. That's when prices go down. That's economics in every situation. So why then are there more sellers right now? Well, we know that we have an S1 that puts new shares into the market based on a calculation and limitations of how much can be sold. These limitations are detailed in the S1 filing itself, but then there's further restrictions by the broker of the institutional investor. So at the end of the day, shares do drip out, but they don't dump out. And for those of you that follow us, which I assume because you're watching right now, we use that money to fund SG&A, R&D, and inventory as we have to date. Now, why aren't there more buyers than sellers?
A stock's sub-penny price is influenced by several market factors, one of the biggest being the lack of analyst coverage from major firms. These firms often have internal investment policies that restrict them from covering or trading stocks that are priced below a certain threshold, such as $5 per share. Similarly, some brokerage firms, for their own risk management reasons, may not offer trading in over-the-counter stocks or those priced at sub-penny levels. These policies can reduce liquidity and institutional interest, which may contribute to a low stock price. Additionally, the OTC market has historically been subject to increased scrutiny from regulators like the SEC and FINRA due to past instances of abusive practices like pump and dump schemes, which can also affect general investor confidence.
I would love to be traded by Robinhood and Webull. We would have access to so many more investors that could click a few buttons and put their money into the stock and play it along like everybody else who's already in the stock, but they don't. One of the many reasons why I want to be on Nasdaq, where we'll be covered by everybody right away. Now you can see why I get excited to talk about getting to Nasdaq, because it will make things with trading more open, increase liquidity generally speaking, and could be really, really good for us. That's my plan. But the bottom line is that over this past year in particular, we've had growing sales, we've had decreasing debt, as evidenced by this month, August, effectively being profitable for AITX, and also should make the whole quarter profitable, as we've previously announced in press release, because of the debt settlement. But yet, maybe on another exchange, that'd be a really big deal because that's good management. But on the OTC, doesn't really affect things. But the bottom line is that our foundations continue to get stronger despite the fact that the stock price does what the stock price does. Reality is, operationally, the business improves every day. August was a big month. As we previously said, we had a huge debt settlement that made the month for AITX overall profitable. And we expect the quarter to be as profitable as well, which is huge news. But we're in the OTC. Will it get noticed? I don't know. Nobody knows. Time will tell. Next question. Why do we press forward when we can have a safe retreat? You know that RAD generates $700,000 a month in recurring revenue, plus or minus. Now, we could nip tuck here and there. We can close some projects. We could get rid of Romeo. We could get our SG&A under that. We can pursue some financing for the inventory, because getting financing for inventory when you're cash flow positive is much, much easier than when you're not cash flow positive. So we could expect that we could have financing for our inventory, and we wouldn't necessarily have to dilute, which would add shares into the marketplace. Well, why don't we do that? Sounds kind of right? Well, that's not the vision. The vision is not a $10 million a year company. And I say that for both me and the people that I believe are the bulk of our investors. We want to go big. We have a vision. We've built an ecosystem that's mostly been built out. Romeo, Rio, Sarah, all that stuff working together. Many, many other companies just might build one piece, but not us. We didn't do it that way. We started from the beginning to build out our ecosystem because we needed to have control in order to deliver the results to customers that we wanted them to have. That's what we did. And it works, and it's gaining traction. We did a couple of press releases on that this week. So we very much subscribe to the statement, go big or go home. And happily, we're largely at a critical mass right now. So it's now time to build and deploy, given that most of the development is done. Now, I say most of the development is done. So you might think, well, why aren't we going to reduce the size of the team, take out R&D because the development's done? Development kind of never ends. We constantly have to get better. So with critical mass, we can maintain, support, and grow and improve. And those improvements hit the bottom line. Better cloud services, more efficient software, better purchasing, better design for quicker production and lower production costs. That's where we're at now. If this program works, and if we hit the heights that we want, it'll be great. And there's no guarantees, of course, but that's what we're building, and you should know that's the direction that we're going. Go big or go home. Third question, what's the plan? Well, I've been busy, and I'll share with you what I've been up to. I shared a little bit at the beginning as well, but there are multiple very large opportunities right now that I'm personally involved in supporting the team. These are opportunities that could be big catalysts on everything related to our company. So I'm involved personally. If we're going to win, we share the credit with everybody else. If we're going to lose, obviously I take the blame. So I'm spending my time there. We're also trimming, modifying, adapting technology, which I lead in my role as CTO. And I talked about that a little bit a moment ago when I talked about how we've got critical mass and why that's important. Of course, there's much more that I do with legal and finance and team and so forth, but ultimately I'm sharing those points with you because those are points that can really push this business forward. So what's the plan? It's pretty simple, and it's been this way for more or less a long time and was clearly laid out on the January 15th, 2025 investor presentation. Build, sell, deploy, invoice, collect. That's it. We're going to launch Romeo. Done. Launch Sarah. Done. Keep our clients. Good. Get better every day. Doing it now. So how long will it take to achieve positive operational cash flow? Well, we're behind where we thought we would be. Liberation Day did us no favors, and it didn't do any favors for anybody in B2B. I believe overall, in a very short term from this point on, that Liberation Day will be a great boon to Americans, American investors, and ultimately the entire world. Like the president had said, there's a little bit of pain to take up front during this process. And us, like many other people, are working to keep our teams together, not be reactive, because we know that the dam of orders will break. We know that you can't hold back American innovation. So how long to profitability? It could be as soon as next year, depending on some of these catalysts and how the debt is handled. So right now we've got Romeo, Rio, Rosa, Ava, Tom, Sarah, a bunch of other software features such as firearm detection. And we've built this great ecosystem that we're selling now as individual pieces and as a package. Now it's about perseverance, listening, and winning, and bringing in some of these really big fish that we have on the hook. Everybody, thank you for watching. On my behalf, on the behalf of all of our AITX team members and families, as well as your fellow investors and fans, thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. Make it a great day.